Hope this thing's working there. I need a new video camera because I can't see what I'm recording. Anyways, hi, it's Jennifer McCreath. Today is December 9th, 2021. Since nobody watches my football videos, I'm going to do another one. I'm going to review the bowl season. I definitely do a lot of complaining and criticizing, so I also want to compliment the NCAA and the College Football Playoff Committee when they get it right. Maybe. I still don't agree with judges deciding who the best 4 teams are. I think it should be decided on the field. That's a whole other video. Well, no, let's put this into this video. We just sat through a weekend of conference championship games, some of which had playoff implications and some which were completely meaningless. The only reason to win some of these games was so you get to go to the Potato Bowl instead of the Toilet Bowl. I don't know. But yeah. Conference championship games, how about we actually make them mean something? Maybe if you win your conference, you get into the playoffs or something like that? Or just get rid of them. Instead of having a 4-team playoff, how about we make it 8 or 12? And we have an extra week of playoff games instead of these silly conference championship games that sometimes are just a waste of time. Anyway, let's take a look at the committee here. All right, Cincinnati. We've been waiting for years for a so-called non-Power 5 team to actually get picked. We've seen many non-Power 5 teams go undefeated over the years, including the 1961 Rutgers Scarlet Knights. But this is the first time that one of these so-called smaller schools has been recognized and put in the playoffs. But you know what? I look at Cincinnati's schedule, and I'm actually surprised because the Central Florida team that went undefeated 2017 had a much tougher schedule. The AAC has generally been a good conference, and I've argued many times that it shouldn't be Power 5, it should be Power 6, and that they should be included. But not this year. Most of those teams suck. Their records just don't stack up. The AAC against the so-called Power 5, I can't remember. I looked it up a couple weeks ago, but their record was like 13-28 or something. Cincinnati, okay. I give you credit. You booked Indiana, allegedly a tough top team from the Big Ten. At the beginning of the year, Indy was ranked, and you went into their stadium and beat them down. Notre Dame, you went in there and beat them too. And then you had 2 other games out of conference, and unfortunately you booked cupcakes, as we call them, I believe. I don't agree with these cupcake games for the group of 5. I get it, the Power 5. You're going to give these smaller schools an opportunity to have a big payday, but if you're already on the outside looking in, why would you book cupcakes? And again, okay, Cincinnati, great, 2 great wins, but there's a lot of other teams. Should we penalize somebody for losing a game because they have the guts to book a tough schedule? No! Oregon, Ohio State, week 1. They didn't have to book that. They could have said, no, week 1 we want to play shit-fuck State. We want an easy 75-0 win. They said, no, let's start this season off with a bang. Let's book each other. So don't begrudge. I mean, and that's where I don't have a problem putting a team in the playoffs with a loss. Maybe even 2 losses. If you lose to a good team. If you lose to somebody who sucks, then forget it. Oregon was doing great. They had a loss to Stanford, who's not very good this year. I disagreed with Oregon being ranked high. As it happens, they lost a second time, so they're out. All right, SEC bias, yes, no, maybe. Kind of warranted, I think. Alabama and Georgia are both really good teams. And yes, they destroyed all of their non-conference opponents, good and bad. I don't have a problem with them both making the playoffs. Michigan, one bad loss, but that's okay. Big Ten was tough, especially that East Division. You survived Ohio State. You got Wisconsin in there, you got Penn State, you beat all these good teams. You had one bad loss to Michigan State, who's still a pretty good team. I don't have a problem. I think they got the right 4 teams. Notre Dame, not having a conference championship game. If Notre Dame had an extra game, maybe they would be one of the one-loss teams in there instead of on the outside looking in. Wasn't Notre Dame in the ACC last year for one time only, and they did get into the conference championship game? Yeah, that's why it's kind of unfair. Some of these teams get conferences, they get that bonus game. Notre Dame had hurt them. If they had one more game to beat another good team, they might have leapfrogged Michigan or Georgia. One of these teams, maybe. I don't know. So we got Alabama. 1 versus 4, 2 versus 3. Doesn't really matter to me. I like the fact that the SEC teams will not face each other in the first round. There's been this SEC, I don't know what you want to call it, hype. One half of the argument is that the SEC is the best conference and they have all the best teams. The other side is that that's a fallacy, it's a conspiracy. Let's find out just how good the SEC really is. We're going to book you against the best 2 teams outside of the SEC. Alabama, Cincinnati, Michigan versus Georgia. The winners meet in the final. I'm looking forward to those games. I'm going to be cheering and rooting for Cincinnati to win this whole thing. But ultimately, I'm looking forward to seeing... And then we look at all the other bowls. This so-called New Year's Six, whether you're in one of those games or not, I mean, there's more money, but they're all just meaningless games, really. It's an exhibition game. I mean, it's amateur sports. These are collegiate players. They're not getting paid. Their schools are making more money and all that. But Peach Bowl, number 10, Michigan State versus number 12, Pittsburgh. Big Ten versus ACC. Okay, you got probably the 3rd or 4th best team in the... It's not equally balanced. I'd like to see the best teams in conferences going head-to-head. When you've got the 2nd best team in one conference playing like the 4th or 5th best team in another conference, what does it prove? Pittsburgh was the runner-up, right? Or did they win the... They won the ACC. Okay, ACC champion Pittsburgh against the number 3 or maybe number 4 team in the Big Ten. Pittsburgh should win, right? Well, maybe not. Now let's talk to that quarterback for Pittsburgh's not even going to play the game. And that's the other thing. They have like a 4, 5, 6 week gap between the end of the regular season and the conference championship games and all these bowls. You got Christmas, you got exams, you got... How do you stay fresh? And that comes up too. You get teams with 5, 6 weeks off. No, they don't always show up to play. Sometimes these teams care about the bowl, sometimes they don't. And the result is often a lot of lopsided games, a lot of boring games. So that ACC champions are potentially going to play without their best player, the quarterback, against a Michigan State team. I mean, I don't really give a damn about that game. I don't. The most intriguing bowls, one, this SEC thing. I'm intrigued to see how the SEC, or how the rest of the teams do against the SEC. Quite frankly, I'm going to be rooting for the other teams, because I don't like this SEC is the best concept. I don't agree with that. It's not right. It's not fair. I also like the Group of 5 versus Power 5, because I think that's ridiculous that you have these two classifications. First of all, there's a lot of Group of 5 teams in these bowls. Why the heck? If we're being told for 14 regular season weeks not to take these teams seriously, why should I all of a sudden pay attention to them in the bowl season? Especially when you book two Group of 5 teams against each other. And we'll go down the list. Well, the very first bowl game, here you go, Mid-Tennessee against Toledo. Who cares? Why should I want to watch that game? 6-6 team versus a 7-5 team. The Group of 5, they're no good, they suck, that's what we're led to believe. Why should I watch this bowl game? I don't care. It's not like you got the you got a MAC team and a Conference USA team, but it's not like you got the champions. Yeah, not interested, sorry. I love it though when you get a good, and you see the problems. A lot of times you'll get like a Group of 5 conference champion, and they'll book them in a bowl game against like a 6-6 team, so they don't really get a chance to. If they win, it's because they didn't really play a good opponent. I don't know. How long is this video? I'm going to start going through these games. Okay, we talked about the playoff games. We talked about. Should I give you my predictions? No. Notre Dame will be playing Oklahoma State in the Fiesta Bowl. Notre Dame was ranked 5, Oklahoma State ranked 9. Well, they did lose to Baylor there, but this is actually an exciting game, an intriguing game, because I still don't know what happened. Oh, it's the Big 12. I'm going to give them some credit. They don't have divisions. The Big 10. You know the East team is always going to win the conference championship game because the West sucks. And it's been that way for many years. Oklahoma State, if they got to play a mediocre team in a different division, no. Big 12 says everybody plays a round robin, and whoever the best two teams are, they're going to play again. So Oklahoma State, it's tough to beat Baylor and Oklahoma once, let alone twice. Notre Dame, Oklahoma State. Okay, Notre Dame, we're going to find out how good you are. 11-1. Your one loss was to a Group of 5 team. Ha ha ha. Wink wink, Cincinnati. That was a great game. I enjoyed watching that. Oklahoma State, the Big 12 runner-up. Notre Dame, number 5 ranked team. Just missing the playoffs. If this was a playoff game, if this was like, if you expand from 4 to 8 teams, this will be a great quarterfinal game. Notre Dame versus Oklahoma State. The winner moves on. That would be really, really fun to watch. Now it's just another bowl game that nobody really cares about on January 1st because there's too many bowl games. Rose Bowl, okay. Pac-12 champ generally plays the Big 10 champ. It's been that way for 100 years probably. Well, the Big 10 champ is in the playoffs, so they're not going to the Rose Bowl. But we got the Buckeyes, Ohio State, against Utah. Yeah, that'll be fun. If you can't make the playoffs, you want to go to the Rose Bowl because that's the granddaddy of them all, right? It's in prime. Well, is it prime time? Prime time out east where I live, but late afternoon. Really good game. Ohio State probably beat Utah, but you never know. Sugar Bowl, Baylor and Ole Miss. Ooh. Big 12 champ against the SEC number 3. Both 2-loss teams. Who wants it more? This is intriguing because sometimes you get an SEC team that goes to the Sugar Bowl and they don't care because they feel they should be in the playoffs. I don't think this is the case though. Ole Miss, 2 losses. They probably did not expect to make the playoffs. Baylor's got something to prove though. They just won their conference. They want to prove that the Big 12 is for real. The Big 12 over these playoff years has often been left out of the playoffs, so here's your chance. Stand up to that SEC. Prove that you're better. Heck, 2 of your fellow conference teams are leaving the Big 12 and going to the SEC. Oklahoma and Texas are leaving the Big 12 and going to the SEC. Why don't we just put all 114 teams in the SEC? Then we can stop this moving around. There's way too much realignment. Teams leaving one conference to go to another. Baylor, you got a lot to prove here, and I know you'd love to be playing the SEC champs. Instead, you're getting the SEC number 3, but still, go in there and beat the hell out of them. Prove a point. National championship game. Well, we don't know who's in that until the other controversial thing is that you have these traditional bowls, and they're now playoff games. The Orange Bowl, it used to always be, the ACC versus the Big East. Now it's playoffs. So when it's the Rose Bowl's turn to be a playoff game, we're not going to get our traditional Pac versus Big Ten champion. I think they should keep the bowls separate from the playoffs. Just a thought. Non-conference, non-BCS. I don't know why this Wikipedia page has them all separated. All right, Bahamas Ball. Well, that's pretty cool. If you're not going to be in a meaningful bowl game, at least you get to go to the Bahamas. So mid-Tennessee, Toledo, good for you. Not interested in the game, really. I probably won't be watching it. Cure Bowl, Orlando, Florida. They get like 100 bowls in Orlando and Tampa. Northern Illinois against Coastal Carolina. This is actually an interesting game. 2 of the top group of 5 schools who can hang with the big boys. Unfortunately, we'll not get a chance to play one of the big boys because they're going to play each other. Coastal 10-2, Northern Illinois MAC champions 9-4. That's going to be good. I might actually try to pay attention to that one. Boca Raton Bowl, App State, Western Kentucky. Why? Who cares? 2 good teams, but I'd like to see the group of 5 teams that have 10 wins or more. They should be allowed to play a Power 5 to prove just how good they are. Appalachian State, same with Coastal Carolina. 2 Sun Belt teams, 10-win teams, but I bet you they could beat any 6-6 or 7-5 power team. But no, they won't give them that chance. Fresno and UTEP, New Mexico Bowl. That's a bit of a strange one. Conference USA against the Mountain West. Again, I like to see Fresno play a Pac team, prove that they can do it. Utah finally got tired of being screwed, and they joined the Pac. Fresno might be next. If I were Fresno, if I were Boise, I would look to get into one of those conferences so you can actually get into these playoffs. Good for UTEP. They've been miserable the last couple of years, and to go 7-5 after going 1-11 was it last year? Good for them. Fresno should probably win that bowl easily. Independence Bowl on ABC. Regular, local broadcast television. You don't even need cable for this one, folks. BYU 10-2. 7 of those games were against power schools. And I'm not going to answer that. It's going to ring a couple times, but BYU booked an incredibly tough schedule this year. 2 losses, but you know what? I consider them just as good as any of these power teams that win 10-2. UAB Blazers, good school, 8-4. BYU 13th ranked. I'd rank them higher than that. BYU's going to win this game. It's intriguing. UAB, they lost their program for a few years, and they came back, and then they've been doing really well. Next year, the BYU schedule is a lot easier, so I don't know what to make of that. I'd like to see BYU in a power conference, because I think they're that good. Lending Tree Bowl, what the hell is that? Mobile, Alabama, Liberty, Eastern Michigan. Liberty jumped up from the Division 2s there, and they had a couple of really good years. 7-5. A couple of bad losses this year against the bigger schools. Eastern Michigan, meh. Not really too keen on this game. I'm not going to watch it, I don't think. Oregon State and Utah State. Ooh, that's interesting. A Pac team against a Mountain West team. I'd love to see several Mountain West versus Pac bowl games. Again, it's Big Brother versus Little Brother. Ooh, this one's on broadcast TV. The new LA Bowl. How about that? Oregon State 7-5. I wouldn't be too excited playing them. Utah State, didn't they just win the Mountain West? They beat San Diego State. Mountain West champion only gets a 7-5 Pac team. Again, I think they're kind of being ripped off there. Marshall against Lafayette, Louisiana. So we got the Sun Belt champ against a mediocre Conference USA school. Lafayette at the New Orleans Bowl. That's pretty cool for them, but who cares? Marshall. Lafayette's going to pound on them. They don't even call them Lafayette anymore. It's just Louisiana, because there's now a Lafayette College. A lot of teams change their name. I don't know why. I'm going to keep calling them Lafayette because I've been watching college football for 27 years and they've always been Lafayette. 12-1. I did watch some of that conference championship game, the Sun Belt game last Saturday, and there was a guy that was like 400 pounds on the... Was he an offensive lineman? I can't remember. Intriguing. Watch that one, folks. Tulsa and Old Dominion. Who cares? Not even going to talk about it. 2 6-6 teams. They suck. Wyoming against Kent. No thank you. Here's a good one. The Frisco Bowl. San Antonio was 12-0. Then they lost their conference championship game. San Diego State, they were undefeated for a while too. And then they fell apart the last couple of weeks. Two of the best group of 5 schools out there, and they're going to play each other. That one is worth watching. Army versus Missouri. There's a cool one. The SEC, our first SEC game, December 22, against a very good Army team who still has to play Navy. They always have that late game. Can Army beat an SEC team? Probably not. Miami, Ohio versus North Texas. No, not interested. Sorry. Here's one for you. SEC Florida Gators 6-6 fired their coach. In Central Florida, in-state rival, the same Central Florida team that should have been in the playoffs a few years ago. Well, not really the same team. Those players have all graduated. That's a good one. That's one I'm going to want to watch. Central Florida 8-4. Pretty good history over the past 5, 6, 7 years. Good team. Gators, not a very good year for them. Intriguing bowl. Who wants it more? Chance for Central Florida. Knock off Big Brother. Do the Gators care? Their coach just got fired. I'm surprised Florida beat Florida State last week or 2 weeks ago. Hawaii 6-7. They always give Hawaii an extra game. I don't know why. They're at home. Hawaii Bowl. Why not? Put Hawaii in the Hawaii Bowl. Why don't you send those kids to California or Florida? Give them a trip. They deserve it. If they're in a bowl, they deserve to travel. Give them a little trip. Memphis 6-6. Memphis, they were good, but this year not so much. I wouldn't be too excited to play Memphis if I were Hawaii, and that game doesn't really interest me. Camellia Bowl in Montgomery, Alabama. Christmas Day, Ball State and Georgia State. No thank you. Quick Lane Bowl, Detroit, Michigan. Nevada and Western Michigan. I don't know. Why? Why should I watch this game? Again, 2 group of 5 schools playing each other doesn't really interest me. Here's one for you. Eastern Carolina against Boston College. BC. Didn't they start 3-0, 4-0? Past couple of years, they start hot and then fall apart. East Carolina. They were terrible last year. This might be intriguing. Still 5. It's a chance. I don't know what it is. Too many bowl games. I don't really care. Why should I want to watch a couple of 6-6 or 7-5 schools play each other? Not interested. Ooh, now here's one. A very good 6-6 Auburn team. It's going to play Houston. Houston, 11-2, ranked number 20. Auburn with a tough schedule. Had to play Alabama, had to play Georgia. I think we're going to see Auburn dig deep here. Cincinnati pounded on Houston last week. That's what you want. If you're in the AAC and you're 11-2, you want to play an SEC team and prove you can beat them. I think Auburn has something to prove, though. Heck, it's at least we got a bowl game I'm going to want to watch. Because most of these I don't want to watch. Next one, Air Force Louisville. Mountain West against ACC. Yeah. Liberty Bowl, Texas Tech, Mississippi State. Another Big 12 versus SEC game. That's got me intrigued because we've seen a lot of teams leave the Big 12. We saw Nebraska leave. We saw Colorado leave. We saw Missouri leave. We saw Texas A&M leave. How many of them ended up in the SEC? Most of them. Now we got 2 more, as we mentioned earlier. Texas Tech 6-6, middle of the pack. Mississippi State 7-5. Big 12 versus SEC game. That's cool. I like it. I'm interested. Again, Big 12, you should be embarrassed and ashamed that all your schools are bailing for the SEC. These are must-win games. Otherwise, you're going to lose your conference. UCLA will play NC State. Ooh, 2 Power 5 schools. NC State's ranked 9-3, ranked 18. UCLA 8-4. That's a pretty good game. Yeah, I'll watch that one. West Virginia 6-6 against Minnesota 8-4. Big 12 versus Big 10. 10:15 p.m. Eastern start. It's past my bedtime. Good game though. The Fenway Bowl. That's pretty cool. We're going to play football at Fenway Park. Why do they always do that? Come and watch football in a baseball stadium. Virginia against Southern Methodist. Well, it's Power 5 against Group of 5. Intriguing enough to watch. That I like. Any Power 5 versus Group of 5 bowl, I will watch. Virginia Tech versus Maryland. ACC versus Big 10. Both 6-6. That's the Pinstripe Bowl at Yankee Stadium, another baseball stadium. Why? I got to work that day. I won't be watching that. Clemson against Iowa State at the Cheez-It Bowl in Orlando. How many? Did I say there was all these games in Orlando? Cheez-It? Really? Oh, if you think Cheez-It's bad, we got the Mayonnaise Bowl coming up too. Clemson started the year. Well, they played Georgia. One of those amazing Week 1 matches. Clemson versus Georgia. Losers out. Clemson lost. They're out. No playoffs. 9-3 Clemson. We're used to seeing them go 12-0. Iowa State 7-5. A lot of hype for Iowa State at the beginning of the year. I don't know why. Clemson will probably whip their ass. Oklahoma Sooners versus Oregon. Wow. Two teams that were top 10 throughout the season in the polls, and now they had a couple losses. Oklahoma's last game in the Big 12. They're going to the SEC, taking on what was the Pac-12's best team for most of the year. That's an interesting game. I can see value in watching these two teams play. I'd like to see them both in the playoffs, but... next one. Mayonnaise Bowl. Really? Mayonnaise. Mayonnaise. North Carolina versus South Carolina. SEC versus ACC. 6-6 versus 6-6. I like this. That's a great matchup. I'm going to watch that one. Purdue versus Tennessee in Nashville. Purdue had a pretty good year. They had some big upset wins. They beat some good teams, but then lost to some crappy teams. Again, SEC versus another Power 5 school. That's going to be fun. Arizona State versus Wisconsin. Midnight start. 10:30 Eastern. I live in Newfoundland. Midnight! It's too late! Past my bedtime. I gotta go to work the next day. I can't watch that. I love Herm Edwards, though. You play to win the game, Arizona State. Wisconsin. Overrated. They had them ranked for most of the year. I don't know. Wisconsin will probably win that game. December 31st. Gator Bowl. Wake Forest against Texas A&M. Another ACC, SEC. Ranked teams. Wake 17, A&M 25. A&M beat Alabama, but they lost 4 games. I think A&M's going to clobber Wake. Yeah, that's a good game. I'm going to watch it. Washington State against Miami, Florida. Sun Bowl. Both teams 7-5. Yeah. Don't really care. The Arizona Bowl on a TV station called Barstool Sports, a digital media company. Oh boy. A bowl game that's not on TV. Guess we won't be watching. Should we even bother telling you who's playing? Boise and Central Michigan. No, we won't be watching that one. Sorry. Outback Bowl, January 1st. Arkansas, Penn State. That's a good game. Yeah. 8-4 Arkansas, 7-5 Penn State. Both teams I think are a little overrated, but that's going to be a good game. Kentucky SEC versus Iowa Big Ten. Iowa laid an egg against Michigan. Kentucky, what did they do? They laid an egg against Georgia. Still, SEC versus Big Ten. Why not? Good game. Texas Bowl, January 4th. LSU versus Kansas State. LSU 6-6. We're not used to seeing that. They got a new coach who's got a new accent. Brian Kelly. Is he going to coach that game, or what's Buddy with Go Tigers? Let's go Tigers. He's coaching his last game. Ed, what's his name? Oregon? I can't remember. Kansas State, 7-5. Yeah. Who cares? And yes, we have a FCS Bowl. Just slap in the face because there's an FCS playoff, and these two teams are not in. Jackson State with Coach Deion Sanders, 11-1. Only loss was to an FBS school. So they're 11-0 against their peers, and they didn't make the playoffs. That's stupid. Jackson State should be in the playoffs. You got Deion Sanders coaching. That's a TV, entertainment value type of thing. Nope, you're going to get to play South Carolina State Bulldogs from the MEAC, the MEAC Conference, who are 6-5. Jackson State should blow them out. Heck, it's on ABC. Broadcast television. Prime time. Deion Sanders. The game's not prime time though, it's 12 noon. I will watch that though. All-Star games, we never watched those. Shrine Bowl, Hula Bowl, Collegiate Bowl, Senior Bowl, Legacy Bowl. No thank you. Well, I've made a lot of videos over the years, a lot of football videos. This is probably the worst one, so if you watch this whole thing, I feel sorry for you because that was just miserable, wasn't it? Oh well, it is what it is. Appreciate your watching my videos.